I just wanted to let everybody know about the social media professional development assignment number 3. This is the one that's out this week. And actually, before we get to that, just one other thing about the innovations and suggestions survey. So I am ecstatic about the response for the innovations and suggestions. I think it's going really well. It's been a big success so far. So thank you to everybody that's involved. But one of the things now that I need to decide on is what exactly is this going to be worth in this course in terms of bonus points. So I've been trying to figure out something that would be motivating, what you would find rewarding in terms of getting involved in the social media development, what you think would be motivating to get involved in the innovations and suggestions. But at the same time, I also have to come up with something that is fair, so it's not such a large bonus as to make the other assignments in this course not count. It's not such a large bonus as to be unfair to anybody that doesn't take part in these two optional activities. So I've been kind of mulling around with that, but I thought in the spirit of the innovations and suggestions, why don't I just ask everybody here. So for this week, in the survey for innovations and suggestions, there's 2 additional questions. One is, what do you think would be a motivating and fair reward for the innovations and suggestions top tweet of the week? And then the other question is, what do you think would be a motivating and fair reward for the social media professional development? So it could be a certain percentage towards your final grade. It could be a certain percentage towards each exam. It could be dropping the grade for certain assignments. But again, try to think of what you would feel as a student, because you'll have more of an immediate knowledge of that experience. Try to think of what you would feel would be motivating, something where you would say to yourself, yes, I'm glad I'm in on this. I'm glad that I'm doing this. This is worth, the bonus points are worth my time. But at the same time, being a fair amount. So the extreme unfair would be, oh, you do the social media professional development, you get 100% of the course. That's massively unfair to anybody that doesn't want to get involved, and it also undermines the entire learning portion of this course. So it needs to be worth something. So if you can kind of, give suggestions in terms of what you think would be motivating and fair for those 2, I would really appreciate it, because I am going to try to make a decision on that once I get that feedback, and any guidance that you can give me will help me come up with something that, again, will fit for these assignments. All right, so that was the first thing. Second thing, social media professional development assignment number 3. So we are working up to developing your network, developing your connection to the community. And one of the reasons we're doing this is so eventually you can do what we call the big ask. And the big ask is where you reach out to your community and say, give me some help. So for example, here we have Randy McCarthy, and he tweeted out to the community that I'm part of this following tweet, and he said, academic friends, what is the best writing advice for undergraduate who will be writing their first APA-style manuscript this semester? I would like to give them tips and tricks from the pros, i.e. you, please and thank you. So he did this, he asked his community for help. And basically, it's clear that he will be teaching an introductory writing course this semester. And what in essence he's doing is saying, look, I could either do hours and hours of work on my own, going through textbooks, going through studies, going through, searching the internet, looking for best practices and all these tips and tricks. Or I can ask you to do some of the work and lean on your experience and basically say, instead of me doing all that work, why don't you do some of that work for me? So that's a big ask, right? It's a big ask to go out and say, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this thing on my own, but can you do some of it for me, right? That's what we call the big ask. So we want to make sure that we have built those connections before we do anything like this. We want to make sure that we've built those connections before we ask people to contribute to our success. Because again, this is something that your network and your community will do all the time, but they've earned it. And the way that you earn it is you basically give before you take. So the next series of assignments are all going to be part of this giving to your community before you start pulling from your community. So if you take a look at Randy McCarthy's Twitter homepage, you'll see that he has over 2,000 tweets. he has been contributing to his community for a while now. So when that ask came out, it was really easy for his people in his network to say, oh, he's contributed so much, sure, I'll take some time out and I'll tweet this, or sure, I'll retweet this and spread the word, get it out to a bigger number of people, because he's given so much up at this point that it's easy for him to make that ask. So that's what we're building towards, and we're going to do that by basically starting out simple with a little bit of amplification. So amplification is where you basically amplify somebody else's idea. You basically say, oh, hey, this person had a great idea, let me tell other people about it. And that's the way that we're going to be contributing at this point, because at your sort of professional stage as psychologists, you might not have a lot of original content, you might not have published a article, you might not have experience teaching, that you can say, oh, hey, here's this great idea that I've come up with. But you can definitely amplify the voices of others, and that's the way that we're going to start. So what we're going to do is, and as you can see here, that's exactly what I did. So I didn't have any tips at this point, but I basically said, there's some great advice in this thread. I retweeted it, and that not only amplified his voice, but also any of my students that follow me could then take a look at that thread and say, oh, maybe when I'm writing my paper, I'll do some of this myself. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. We're going to retweet 2 tweets. We're going to start off slow. From any of the psychologists that you now follow. So if you remember last assignment, follow 5 psychologists. Those psychologists will be tweeting out over the coming week. And you can go a little bit deeper into their history if you need to. But you're going to retweet any 2 tweets from the psychologists that you follow. That's the assignment for this week. No comments are required, save one hashtag that we'll get to in just a bit. So no comments are required. You don't have to add anything to it. But if you do want to comment, then make sure that you read the PDF that I've uploaded to the social media development folder, the do's and don'ts of networking online. And they have a very short, little list of, do say these types of things, don't say these types of things. And that'll just make sure that years from now, you don't have to go back through your tweets and delete anything when you're getting yourself a new job. But you don't need to comment anything, but if you do want to say something, just take a look at that checklist, make sure you're not crossing any lines or doing anything unprofessional. So we're going to retweet any 2 tweets from the psychologists that you follow. We're going to amplify their voices as your contribution to their community.